It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Let's get out of here. Aye. Hey everybody, it's Aaron. It's Brother Aaron from God a Minute. All right, I want to talk about the rapture and general timing and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to soar over everything like an eagle. We're going to fly really high here. And in order to do that, we're going to have to put our emotions on the shelf. Now, I've been doing this for 4 years. I know how bad everybody wants to leave. I know how bad everybody wants to get out of here. And I want to address the emotional thing first before I talk about everything else. Because if our emotions are wound up, we're not going to think logically and all that. So a lot of people that are watching YouTube, they want a rapture date that's 2 weeks in front of them. And if the YouTube person doesn't provide them a rapture date every 2 weeks, they're not going to watch it. And so there's a lot of people on YouTube watching and giving dates because they just want to get out of here. And they're not thinking logically, and they're not looking at the whole counsel of God. They're not reading the whole Bible. There's certain people that are just thinking with their emotions. When's the next date? Give me a date that's 2 weeks in front of me so I can feel like I can get out of here because my life isn't that great. So I just want to address that first. Let's please try and think logically. Now, there's going to be a shift here on this channel, and I've had to grow and learn over the last 4 years about the feast days and read the Bible and hear from people and watch videos and make my mistakes and learn and grow and grow and grow. So I'm asking you, as I'm telling myself, we got to get beyond the emotions, and we got to think about this logically and think everything through. So we're going to do a very large look at everything. So I'm not going to provide a rapture date every 2 weeks for you. And we're going to start to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to try and get into the prophecy. We're going to talk about Hebrew. We're going to continue with that. We're going to keep on pointing and talking about the rapture. But I wanted to address your emotion side first. So just be open to what I'm going to say and think through everything very logically and think in a very much higher level. Be mature about it all. Think, hey, how can I serve you while we wait for this rapture, Father? Not, when can I get out of here so I don't have to live my life down here? No, the question should be, how can I serve you until you come? How can you use me as your instrument until you come? That's the question. Not, when are we getting out of here because my life is horrible, okay? So, we're waiting for Jesus. He tells us to watch. He commands us to watch. What does that look like? Well, we're trying to figure this out. We're watching and waiting and doing the best we can, studying His Word. Now, behind me, I've got these rocks here. There's your Passover. There's your unleavened bread. There's your trumpets. You can hardly see it. There's your atonement. There's your tabernacles. The Feast of Weeks is right in the center of it all. Okay? That's the two breads. It says in Leviticus 23, verse 17, that they are the first fruits. They represent us and the Jews. And we're going to get into some teachings as we go. I'm going to take my time and teach all this. This is not going to be a massive teaching video. But the Feast of Weeks is the party. So I'm going to turn around and show my little chart that I got and talk things through on a very logical mindset, okay? All right, let me do that. Okay, so here's a bunch of the feasts of the Lord and some side feasts that are not part of the Leviticus 23. And then we got this imminent thing here. So we're not even looking at the year right now. We're just looking at what's the best potential feast or day for God to rapture us. What's the best feast? So we've got right here we got Passover, which is on 1/14, and I'm kind of thinking just pretend we're weathermen. You know how the weather guys, they never get it right. They say 60% chance of rain, then it doesn't rain, or they say 40% chance of snow and it doesn't snow, and sometimes it does. Sometimes they're right on, and so I've been doing this for 4 years now, and all my perspectives have changed and morphed and changed and changed and changed and changed. And so what we have here is my current perspective. Right now it's 2024. What's the best feast? What's the best day for a rapture? And I think it's the Feast of Weeks. Now, I'm going to give Passover an 8% chance of the rapture just because it is in one of the feasts of the Lord in Leviticus 23. Feast of Unleavened Bread. The reason why I've underlined these ones and bolded them is because these are the feasts that we are supposed to come before the Lord. These are the three big ones. And that's in Exodus here. Exodus 23, 14 through 19. essentially saying that these are the three that you're supposed to come before the Lord, the 3 annual feasts, okay? And that's that. So those are the big ones. So I'm gonna give, just because they are the 3 annual feasts you're supposed to come before the Lord, I'll give a 10% and 10% to tabernacles. The next feast in Leviticus 23, Feast of First Fruits, I'm going to slam down an 8% because it's in Leviticus 23. Why not? Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, we're going to give those guys 8%. And then these other side ones that are not in Leviticus 23, but they're acknowledged in some way, shape, or form in the Bible. Purim, Second Passover, 9th of Av, Hanukkah. These are other side feasts that are not super duper popular, but they're in there. So I'll give it a 5% for those ones. And people like to say it could happen any minute and it's just going to be random and all. God's just kind of, come whenever he feels like it. Yeah, okay, I'll give you 5% for any day of the year. So I'm not saying that this is 100%, but I'm going with 90%. This seems to be the feast of the Lord. And I know your emotions don't want to hear that, because when is that? Oh, it's next year. Oh, turn the video off. I'm never coming back, and I'm unsubscribing. I'm not going to watch your stuff. A lot of people are going to do that, but I think that's a 90% chance that is the Rapture feast. And the first fruits, like I said, I think I'm going to do a playlist and share my stuff. But the first fruits is related to birth, and it says that the two loaves are the first fruits, and in James 1:18 and 1 Corinthians 15:23 and Romans 8:23 talks about the first fruits and how we are first fruits. And like I said, we'll get into some more teachings on that. I also think now, this is my thing, I don't, this is difficult to talk about too. I think that Feast of Weeks is Shavuot, and I do think it is Pentecost. I do think Pentecost is the Feast of Weeks. I've studied hard and looked really hard into this. I don't think that Pentecost is something different than Feast of Weeks. I think it's exactly the same thing. No need to get into it in this video. Well, I will share one thing. I will share a few things here. Here's 2 Maccabees, chapter 12. Verse 32. It says, they reached Jerusalem shortly before the Feast of Weeks, and then the next verse, after Pentecost, as it is called. So in 2 Maccabees, it says that Feast of Weeks is Pentecost. So that's one thing. Another thing that we can see is Flavius Josephus. Here, I'll turn my camera around. There we go. Sorry about the shaking here. Flavius Josephus calls it basically Pentecost, when a week of weeks has passed over after the sacrifice, which weeks contain 40 and 9, and on the 50th day, which is Pentecost, but it is called Hebrew Asaretha, which signifies Pentecost. They bring to God a loaf made of wheat flour of 2/10 deals with leaven. So leaven is only presented on Feast of Weeks, but so Flavius Josephus essentially is saying that Pentecost is Feast of Weeks. We see it again in 2 Maccabees chapter 12, verse 31 and 32, that Feast of Weeks is Pentecost. Exodus 32, when they make the golden cow, one of the biggest sins in the Old Testament, in Genesis and Exodus, it says, and he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molten calf. So pretty much a massive abomination. Then they said, this is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And this translation says, and Aaron made a proclamation, said, well, you know what? Tomorrow is the feast of the Lord then. Tomorrow's the feast of the Lord. And then the rest of the chapter is God saying, I'm so mad, I just want to consume them and burn them and blow them up. And Moses advocates for them. So, but the thing is, my Hebrew Bible over here, most translations will say this, tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord. So what actually ended up happening was Aaron invented a feast when he saw the golden image. And so this was a feast that was not a hidden feast of the Lord. It was actually just a sinful feast that was created. So we can talk more about that as we go, but my everybody can believe whatever they want. Everybody can come to their own interpretation, but I believe that Feast of Weeks actually is Pentecost. And I think it's the best feast for a rapture. As we go, we're going to talk about all the feasts and how they could potentially be rapture things, but we're always going to now compare it to the big head honcho. The Feast of Weeks is the head honcho, I think, of it all. So we'll get into it as the summer goes. We'll look at prophecy. We'll look at Israel. We'll look at the BRICS stuff. We'll look at how the world is coming together. We'll watch Russia. We'll watch China. We'll watch how everything is going. We'll keep on telling people about Christ. Here, I'll turn the camera on. But this is what I want you to really do. I want you to think with your head and not with your emotions. Study the Bible. Really understand it. Read it a lot. And then come to your own understanding. Don't get mad at me for thinking what I think here. I encourage you not to watch Rapture dates every 2 weeks, counting from Obama's birthday and somebody's, some random dates and adding 1260 to any date that you want to get to a certain date. Sometimes it gets a little silly. And hey, like I said, I'm pretty guilty of some of this too. My license plate, my cousin had a dream, and then therefore, like, all these things are good, but we want to get into the meat and potatoes of the Bible. That's really that the end result is we want to read the Bible. We want to understand everything about the Bible. We want to come to a full understanding of what God had left us, right? And like he left us his word, Holy Bible, set apart. And I believe that this Bible is complete. I believe it's complete by itself. I believe he gave us all the answers in the Bible, and it's up to us to read it and pick it up off the shelf and read it. And if you don't have understanding, read different translations. If you're stuck on a thing, like, focus on that little word, that verse, that chapter, that book. Just look at the history and everything. Read. Understand. Base all your thoughts on what God said. Try not to just make things up or dream things or follow people that are doing that. As a matter of fact, I can tell that a lot of people making content don't read their Bible regularly or haven't even read the whole Bible. And a lot of people are just kind of, well, we're all doing that. We're all just trying to piece the puzzle together. But a lot of people are not as biblically sound as you think they are. Just because people have a YouTube channel doesn't mean they know everything. And so really depend on the Holy Spirit to really direct you, to teach you in all things. Let's think level-headed. Let's think long-term. How can I be used by God in the long run? God, how can you use me until that great and awesome day? The question is not when are we leaving because I want to get out of here, but how can you use me until that great and awesome day? And I'll do my best to teach as much as I can and to keep us level grounded. We're still going to have fun and have our humor and do our live streams and all that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking long-term. I'm thinking there's been a transition in the channel, thinking a little bit more long-term, and we'll see what God does. I pray that you get tight with Christ, because he is the only way to the Father, and he is the door, he is the life, he is the light, and soon we'll be seeing him face-to-face as he is. As soon as possible, I hope. But until then, we got work to do. We actually got work to do. The laborers are few. Let's get working. Because time is short. Okay, one day closer. Go, Jesus, go. See you in the clouds. Bye.
Hallelujah, I'll see